everyone. Welcome to another Music Talk Tuesday, and today I thought it would be interesting, since we are in the last month of love, to discuss romantic love songs from musicals. I thought musicals would be an interesting topic to cover, since I haven't talked about musicals for quite some time, and I thought, why not end on a romantic note when it comes to these uh, lists of songs that I have been making for this past month in regards to love. So without further ado, let me discuss the ones that I chose for this list in particular. If I Can't Love Her from Beauty and the Beast. This song only appears in the musical, it doesn't appear within the film. And that's why I find this song to be fairly unique. In that it addresses something that I think is sort of really relevant to the Beauty and the Beast story, and that's really sort of Beast's turmoil when trying to sort of break that mold that he has when it comes to the sort of pain and insecurity that he has from the way he looks like, and while at the same time trying to sort of convey the feelings he has if he's incapable of receiving Belle's love. So, or if he can't love her, basically. If she sort of denies him, so to speak. And what I really like about this song is that there's a lot of passion to it and this sense of beauty. And I like too how, in particular, the vocalist, at least the one that I researched, did it in a very kind of masculine tone. It didn't really sound feminine, at least to me, when I was listening to it. So I think he did sort of convey that level of like intensity, and again sort of embodied the character of the Beast. And I think it's really nice to see a love song from a musical that's through a male perspective. Usually when you have romantic love songs, they are commonly either within a duet or they're told primarily through the female's point of view and not through the male's point of view. So that's why I thought it was interesting how this song, we see things through Beast's perspective, and we get sort of into his psyche and his sort of inner turmoil, which is really a part of the lyrics throughout the entire song. You know, he basically says that he really has only this one shot to really prove himself, and the only way he can really prove himself is if Belle will sort of love him, and if he can love her. So yeah, it's kind of that it's kind of that inner struggle to kind of break through that barrier. And I think that's partially because Beast sees really the kindness and the genuineness of Belle, and he wants to ultimately have that sort of be a part of himself. And I like too how within the song it sort of conveys what he probably should have done so that he wouldn't have to deal with this curse in the first place. But at the same time, he knows that really Belle's his only shot. So, and I find that interesting because usually we don't see that through the male perspective with these kinds of the male either feels kind of like on top of the world and, you know, everything's great. But we don't really usually see the male character vulnerable. And here we see Beast's vulnerability clearly throughout the song. So I think that's just very interesting, and I think provides a lot of really uh, cool commentary that you can make from it, because there's just a lot within the song that I feel really holds up vocally, instrumentally, as well as within the lyrics. You can see that there was a legitimate amount of effort put into orchestrating this kind of a song and making it sort of a part of the musical. And I feel it's one of the more of the powerful of this particular musical that was or I don't think they even considered putting this within the film. I think this was sort of afterwards, once it became popular and they decided to make a musical. This is when this number was created. So it's just out of a lot of the Disney musical songs, I felt that this one, to me, it sort of just stays with me, and it's one that I felt was like just full of passion, heart, and in a sense despair as well. And it's nice to see those kinds of raw emotions put out there. So props to Beauty and the Beast the musical for doing that. Now, the next song that I wanted to briefly mention is Think of Me by Phantom of the Opera. And I know this might be like one of those ones where all of the people who know musicals go, wow, that was predictable. And I'll say, yeah, I mean, I like what I like. What can I say? But what I really do like about Think of Me is there is this really delicate and innocent nature to it, especially with the way the vocals are demonstrated, as opposed to it being very gritty and raw and passionate like the previous song that I've mentioned. Um, this song takes it to a level where you see you feel sort of fluffy, and there's like this heavenliness to it. And the interesting thing too that I find about this song is that the lyrics are also designed to be rather simple in, just basically saying, think of me, take some time to, you know, make me sort of a part of your life, so to speak. And I sort of like that message because I think it's something that a lot of people can relate to romantically. They would like their significant other to think of them and think of the times they've shared together, all that stuff. And there's also a sense too that the song knows sort of it provides sort of a sense of reality too. It's almost like she is speaking to her lover throughout the song, saying, don't think about the way things might have been. It's she's really getting to the core of the person specifically, rather than in the previous song where Beast is sort of just kind of lamenting to himself. So I think that's also something that seems rather kind of, it's like angelic, and at the same time it sort of draws that audience in. There's just a lot of there's just a lot of again, there is certain points of the song where it does have a little bit more passion to it, but again, it doesn't feel as gritty. It doesn't feel as you know meaty. It just feels light and fluffy, and you could just sail on a cloud listening to the song. it's so delicate. It's like a flower, this song. It just has this sense of prettiness to it. Um, that it's just so hard for me not to enjoy. It's like waking up and hearing birds chirping, and but the kind of chirping of birds you want to hear, in the morning. It's just that kind of feel goodness, that's again a little bit more old fashioned, but at the same time, still conveys a lot of really pleasant and sort of and beautiful emotions. So I think there's just a lot that can be taken away from the song, and I like sort of how she's speaking into to the person that she is in love with, and sort of singing the song to that person. I think that gives the song a lot more weight. And if you really look at the context, though, uh, in regards to Phantom of the Opera, you kind of see how um, the Phantom is probably it's really supposed to be, I think, more as in the sense that the Phantom wrote the song for Christine, but for her to sing, so to speak. And there's sort of this irony to it because she's singing it, but really, ultimately, I think she's really singing it for Raoul and not for the Phantom. But the Phantom initially, I think, wrote it for her to sing. So I think but even though the words that he's writing are the words that he and the are the words and feelings that he has for her. So there's like this kind of irony to it that I think is also really fascinating. If you listen closely, and I think the song was written by the Phantom, if I'm not mistaken, because at the time Christine is singing the song, the Phantom's sort of a part of her life and sort of having helping her sing. So I think it only makes sense that he would be um, part of sort of the production of the song. And again, I think it's again he the Phantom makes the song in a way that he wants, in the way of how he wants Christine sort of to feel about him. But again, those feelings are bounced off towards another person, especially when Raoul comes in and sings that one part. Um, I really honestly don't like his part. I think they should have scrapped it. I'd rather just have Christine sing the entire thing. But again, the song is just too good that I cannot not leave it off this list. So yeah, it's just one of those things where sometimes I have to sway with the crowd. That's just how it is. Because some songs are just too darn good. um, Next song might be another one that a lot of people would put on their lists, or a lot of people would say is probably one of the ones people seem to recognize when it comes to musicals. And that song is I Could Have Danced All Night from My Fair Lady. The interesting thing about this song is that it treats sort of love as kind of like this epiphany. Because, you know, right after she gets done dancing, she's just like on cloud nine, baby. She is not coming down. And in doing so, there's a lot of whimsy and at the same time passion as well. And again, even though love is not really ultimately expressed within this song, it's still sort of implied, and it's one of those songs where clearly the audience knows she's in love, but yet she doesn't know it. It's just she's just so hit by just hit on the head by these feelings that she doesn't really know how to um, really deal with them or really understand them. She's just happy um, to be in love, even though she doesn't know it. And also, there is this sense of not wanting the sort of feelings to end. especially when she sings sort of the lines, I could have danced all night, I could have danced all night, and still have begged for more. Again, she is on that cloud of emotion that she can't be taken down and brought back to reality, because uh, the dancing just got her for some reason. So I find this song to just be very fascinating in just how indirect it is, but at the same time how it's clearly shown to the audience's faces pretty much. Um, and it's sort of funny in that way, and I think it's very enjoyable for that reason. So yeah, it's My Fair Lady. What can you say? Gotta put it on there. Now, the next one that I wanted to briefly mention is Till There Was You from The Music Man. Now, this one is very dreamy. It is told through the female perspective, like Think of Me and I Could Have Danced All Night. And it treats, again, love as sort of an epiphany, similar to My Fair Lady. But unlike My Fair Lady, it tries to make these very somewhat uh, elaborate analogies to sort of explain the emotions of the character who's singing, um, because she sings lines such as, there were birds in the sky, but I never heard them singing. No, I never heard them at all till there was you. So she's sort of presenting her love in that form of wordage. Like, she's not coming out and saying I love you, but she's saying um, there wasn't this beauty, there wasn't this joy, there wasn't this harmony until you sort of came into my life. In other words, I love you. You know, um, no, I never experienced life in this way till I met you, till I fell in love with you, so to speak. So that's really what um, ultimately the person who's singing the song is trying to convey. And I like how there is this beauty with the vocals, and it doesn't try too hard with the instrumentals. It keeps them fairly downplayed, but with purpose. And you feel like that she's carrying the weight of the song. And it's a little bit more opera-y, similar to Think of Me from Phantom of the Opera. Um, so yeah, if you enjoy that kind of singing, then definitely check that one out. Except I wouldn't say that this song has the same amount of innocence and kind of, fluffiness and maybe grandeur that Think of Me has. But it still has that charm and that level of kind of sophistication that I think works for the kind of song that it is. Next one, I Feel Pretty from West Side Story. It is definitely nice to feel pretty, but when you feel pretty because you're in love, it's only that makes it better. This song is sung by Maria, and some people that come in at certain points, but mostly Maria, um, who is the main female protagonist of West Side Story. And basically, she's singing about how she feels, pretty. She feels so charming. She feels like she's on top of the world. And why is she on top of the world? Because she's in love. She just discovered love, and she has this huge kind of, again, similar to a lot of the other songs that I've been mentioning, kind of epiphany, where she kind of goes through and talks and or sings about how pretty and sophisticated she feels because now she has experienced love. So that's, I think, something that's really interesting and is conveyed in this song on a very charming and innocent level, and I think it ultimately works for the kind of musical that West Side Story is. And it's it's just nice to see her kind of just expressing her feelings and feeling again kind of like on top of the world. But in this case, she does know that she's loved. She does know that she is appreciated. It's not like My Fair Lady where it feels like a fantasy. She kind of just knows it's a reality, and she's just so happy about this reality that she, you know, goes basically on cloud nine and feels so happy about herself. So again, there's a little bit more to it, I think, than My Fair Lady, where it's a little bit more fantasy oriented, um, again, it doesn't really have that sophistication and sort of operatic uh, uh, tone as Till There Was You. But there are points where she does sing really high and it sounds very pretty, but at the same time, it's primarily just designed to be a sweet little innocent song and not really be too overly overwhelming with passion. Next one, second to last one. I've Never Been in Love Before from Guys and Dolls. This is our first duet that I will be mentioning. Um, Basically, the couples sing the same lines, except he sings his lines in a deeper voice, obviously. She sings her lines in a higher voice, but they sing the same lines. Um, and the interesting thing that I like about the song is it seems very hazy, and it seems to be very, it tries to set things on a kind of more romantic tone. Um, it has sort of a simplicity to it because it seems a little bit shorter, but it does seem to ultimately carry the weight, and it's nice to see two people sort of feeling kind of like in the same boat, and then it makes their relationship all the more believable. So when they come together and sing, you do feel that sense of, wow, they really haven't experienced this what they're experiencing right now, and so it's great. It's something new. It gets us onto that emotional level that they are on. So yeah, I think that's something about this song that really works, and I think makes it all the more enjoyable to listen to. But I think that's ultimately all I can say about it. It's pretty standard in the sense of the lyrics because they're just kind of more of um, just based kind of like feelings of the moment. I've never been in love before. Um, and my uh, so please forgive this something haze I'm in. I'm sorry, I'm literally tripping on these lyrics here, man. Why did but from what I can tell, the lyrics don't really at least from what I remember, the lyrics don't necessarily stand out to me all as much, but at the same time it's just the weight of the vocals and just the romantic kind of tone that they have going for it that I think ultimately works. And just having the title there, I've Never Been in Love Before, pretty much sums up the entire song and what it's trying to ultimately um, suggest to the audience. So, yeah, I think that's really ultimately all I can say about that one. But moving on to the last one, If I Loved You from the musical Carousel. And this is another duet, female and male. It's a little bit more lengthy than the previous duet that I mentioned. Um, and the interesting thing too is it has sort of this contradictory air, which is obviously different from the previous song that has a duet in it. All right, that is a duet. both uh, sing about what they would feel and what their actions would be if they loved each other, if, so to speak. And they do emphasize the if, sort of. And they're sort of talking in between the song. So it kind of gives you a sense of what's sort of going on throughout the scene and where both the characters are kind of coming from. Um, and even though they sing pretty much the same lyrics, there are some points where the man sort of questions life and, you know, thinks that they're just a couple of specks and is kind of like, why, you know, why would I, you know, I mean, I guess his kind of criticism of love, as far as I can tell, is that he thinks it's ultimately insignificant when it comes to the grander scheme of things, I guess. Um, and maybe in some respects that might be true. I mean, heck, I mean, our human species probably is not going to go on forever. But at the same time, it's still important to understand the impact that you can have on just a small amount of people and not on a continuous stream of um, offspring that comes later on. I don't know if that's what he was going for, but that's sort of what he was kind of talking about. Even though he didn't really mention children, it's just kind of like treating humanity as specks or whatnot. Um, and again, you know, he's like, there's no way I'm gonna marry. And then actions obviously say otherwise. So again, there's this kind of weird, weird, there's this weird going back and forth, so to speak, because they're singing so passionately about what they would do and how they would feel if they were in love, but at the same time going back to reality and saying, no, 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 that's not happening. But at the end, you kind of go, yeah, that's gonna become the reality. You're not hiding this really well, and you can sort of tell that the couple can't really hide it all too well. Um, so yeah, I think that's really at the heart of the song, and I think it's a again, it has that sort of passion, sort of similar to Till There Was You. It just has a lot more length to it, and you get to see kind of to the perspectives in which the characters are kind of coming from, because they're sort of talking in between when they're singing. So I think it provides a whole different kind of level of um, of understanding compared to a lot of the other songs that I've mentioned on this list where it's just pure singing. So when the characters talk, you sort of understand where things are going and where they're sort of coming from. So yeah, it's I think definitely one of the more interesting and elaborate ones, and is why it is on this and that's why it is on this list. But ultimately, I think that's really all I can say about all of these songs. Again, if there are any questions, comments, concerns, I'd be more than happy to answer them. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you all have a pleasant day, week, month, and year. I'll be sure to put all links below to all of the songs so you may view them for your listening enjoyment. And until the next video, bye-bye.